Look at this room. What do you see? Most people see romance. They see centuries of European tradition, artisanal craftsmanship, and a slow, beautiful dance with nature. They see a business model so simple it feels like a cheat code. You buy a raw leg of pork, you cover it in sea salt, you hang it from a ceiling in the dark, and you just wait. But if you look closely at those hanging legs, you shouldn't see meat. You should see ticking financial time bombs. The truth is, owning a premium ham curing cellar, a secadero, is one of the most agonizing, high-stress, capital-intensive ventures on the planet. It is a business where your inventory can literally rot if the wind blows the wrong direction. It's a business where your cash flow is locked in a dark room for up to 4 years, completely vulnerable to energy crises, interest rate hikes, and microscopic bacteria. You think these people are making food? They aren't. When you own a curing cellar, this isn't the meat business. This is the business of time arbitrage and climate-controlled real estate. And surviving it requires nerves of absolute steel. To understand how money moves in this industry, you have to realize that not all cellars are created equal. The global cured ham market, which industry reports estimate is worth billions of dollars annually, is fiercely divided into distinct operational models. Each caters to a different customer, and each has a radically different revenue structure. First, we have the commercial speedrunners. Think of your standard supermarket deli ham or entry-level Serrano. This is a volume game. These facilities look less like rustic cellars and more like sterile Amazon fulfillment centers. They use aggressive, digitally controlled climates to rapidly extract moisture. Their turnaround time, roughly 9 to 12 months. They target the everyday consumer. The margins per leg are razor thin, but the cash flow is relatively fast and predictable. Second, the heritage boutiques. This is the luxury tier, the realm of pure Jamón Ibérico de Bellota, or heritage prosciutto. Here, the business model shifts from volume to extreme premiumization. These secaderos target Michelin-starred restaurants, luxury exporters, and high-net-worth gourmands. The curing process takes a grueling 36 to 48 months, sometimes longer. The margin on a single leg can be astronomical, but the capital required to survive the wait is immense. Third, the curing as a service model. This is a fascinating pivot. Some cellar owners realize the financial risk of buying raw pork is too high. So, they don't buy the meat at all. Instead, they operate like a high-end hotel for hams. Pig farmers or investors bring their raw product, and the cellar owner charges a monthly fee for the real estate, the climate control, and the daily maintenance. They strip away the inventory risk and replace it with steady, predictable service revenue. Finally, the direct-to-consumer micro-carvers, a modern twist on the ancient craft. These smaller sellers bypass traditional wholesale distributors entirely. They cure the meat, but instead of selling a whole leg to a restaurant, they employ master carvers to slice the ham paper thin, vacuum seal it in tiny luxury packages, and sell it via online subscriptions directly to food enthusiasts. They extract every single penny of retail value from the product, though their marketing and packaging costs are significantly higher. If you want to open a secadero, you might think you just need a basement and a lot of salt. That assumption will bankrupt you before you cure a single leg. The hidden entry costs in this industry are staggering, and they have very little to do with the actual pigs. Take the thermodynamic fortress. You aren't just building a warehouse. You are engineering a microclimate. Premium hams rely on the changing of the season. Cold, dry winters giving way to warmer, sweating summers. If your facility is not located perfectly on a specific mountain range to catch natural breezes, you have to simulate GA. You are looking at massive initial investments in industrial HVAC systems, precise humidity sensor, and hospital-grade air filtration to prevent the wrong type of mold from taking root. Then there is the working capital trap. This is the silent killer of the curing industry. Let's say you want to produce premium, 3-year aged hams. In year 1, you write a massive check to buy thousands of premium raw pork legs. You salt them, you hang them, and then nothing. In year 2, you write another massive check to buy more raw legs to keep the pipeline going. Your year 1 hams are still hanging. Zero revenue. In year 3, you buy a third batch of raw legs. Your year 1 and year 2 hams are still hanging. You have now funded 3 entire years of raw materials, paid 3 years of labor, 3 years of electricity, and 3 years of rent, without selling a single slice of meat. Your cash is held hostage by biology. And don't forget bioasset insurance. When you have millions of dollars hanging from the ceiling, you don't just buy fire insurance. You are insuring biological assets against catastrophic spoilage. What if a power grid fails during a summer heat wave? What if a microscopic pest infiltrates the ventilation? The premiums for this highly specialized, niche insurance are eye-watering, but operating without it is financial suicide. This brings us to the absolute core of the secadero business, a reality that defies standard business logic. Every business school teaches you that velocity is money. Produce the widget, sell the widget, reinvest the cash. But the curing cellar operates on the paradox of profitable inaction. Here is the paradox. To create the ultimate financial value in this industry, you must do absolutely nothing to your product for years. But the cost of doing nothing is the most expensive variable on your balance sheet. Think about it. A premium ham is literally just hanging in the dark. It requires almost zero physical labor once it's hung. Yet, every single day it hangs there, 2 opposing forces are at war. On one side, the product is gaining immense market value. The fat is oxidizing, the flavor profiles are deepening, the water weight is evaporating. Time is magically turning a $50 piece of pork into a $1,000 luxury asset. But on the exact same day, doing nothing is aggressively draining your bank account. You are paying commercial interest rates on the debt you used to buy the meat. You are burning electricity to keep the climate perfect. You are paying insurance on the hanging inventory. In the secadero business, time is your main ingredient. But time is also a predatory financial force that is constantly threatening to eat your profit margin alive. To see what happens when the rigid reality of a secadero collides with the unpredictability of the real world, we just have to look at the global supply chain disruptions of the early 2020s. While we cannot verify every private company's balance sheet, industry analysts and agricultural reports documented a massive crisis across the premium curing regions of Southern Europe. Let's look at the mechanics of what happened. Imagine a high-end cellar operating perfectly. They have a 4-year pipeline. In early 2020, their batch from 2016 was finally reaching its absolute peak of perfection. It was time to pull them down, ship them to the world's finest restaurants, collect the cash, and pay off the debt. But then, the global hospitality industry completely shut down. Restaurants closed. Luxury exports halted. If you make cars and demand drops, you simply stop the assembly line. You furlough the workers and leave the steel in the warehouse. But a secadero cannot pause biology. The hams kept curing. At 4 years, the ham is perfect. At 4.5 years, it starts losing too much moisture. At 5 years, the texture can become woody and overly salty. It loses its premium grade. Cellar owners found themselves trapped in a biological traffic jam. The product they had carefully financed and nurtured for 48 months was suddenly expiring right before their eyes. They couldn't freeze it without destroying the delicate cellular structure. They couldn't sell it because the buyers were legally closed. Many were forced to heavily discount their absolute best luxury-grade inventory, selling it to local supermarkets just to clear the hooks for the incoming batch of raw legs. Because the pigs they had contracted to buy 4 years ago were still being slaughtered on schedule. It was a brutal demonstration of the industry's fatal flaw: utter inflexibility. Because you are dealing with biology, weather, and macroeconomics simultaneously, the financial swings in a secadero can be violently extreme. In a truly good year, everything aligns like a symphony. The macroeconomic climate is stable, meaning the interest rates on your massive working capital loans are low and manageable. Mother Nature provides a perfect, freezing, dry winter followed by a mild summer. This allows you to open the cellar windows and let the natural mountain air do the curing, allowing you to turn off those massive industrial HVAC systems and slash your energy overhead. Meanwhile, global luxury demand is surging. Your 4-year-old batch hits the market just as high-end restaurants are expanding. The cash from the premium sales flows in smoothly, perfectly covering the cost of next year's raw pork. Your margin expands exponentially because your operational costs remained incredibly low. It feels like you are printing money from thin air. But in a bad year, the variables outside of your control turn against you. Unseasonably warm, damp winters driven by climate anomalies mean the natural mountain air is useless. Your digital climate control systems have to run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for months. Your energy bills quadruple, eating your profit margin before the meat is even halfway cured. Simultaneously, inflation spikes. The central banks raise interest rates. Suddenly, the millions of dollars you borrowed 3 years ago to buy the hanging inventory becomes crushingly expensive to service. And then, the nightmare scenario. A slight imbalance in the cellar's humidity allows a rogue strain of aggressive mold or a localized pest to infiltrate just one corner of the room. Before you catch it, a row of inventory, representing perhaps $500,000 of future revenue, is mathematically ruined. It cannot be sold. In a bad year, a secadero doesn't just lose money. It hemorrhages capital from every possible direction, leaving the owner drowning in debt with a warehouse full of meat they can neither eat nor sell. When you walk into a traditional secadero and breathe in that rich, nutty, sweet aroma of curing ham, you are not smelling food. You are smelling the heavy, suffocating weight of time. The people who survive and thrive in this industry are master risk managers disguised in butchers' aprons. They understand the central paradox perfectly. To create unparalleled value, they have to withstand the agonizing financial pain of doing nothing at all. At the end of the day, owning a curing cellar isn't about selling pork. It is about selling the patience that nobody else can afford.